You're tuned in to the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
It's episode 52 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yagi, and I'm a real estate agent.
Hi, Andy. How's it going today?
Hey, Kayla, I'm doing really great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I see you are on location somewhere.
I am on location. I'm traveling, doing a little bit of corporate flying today. So I am officing from an undisclosed rural North Dakota airport and kind of doing real estate from here and getting to connect with you.
That is so awesome. You get to do that. You get to have the best of both worlds, and how cool that you get to fly. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely fills my cup. And, even more than that, just all of the great people you meet along the way.
Yeah, I bet you meet so many. And I saw you had one of your daughters, or maybe just in the photo, was flying with you recently, right?
Yeah, we try to get up every so often. We actually did go up. We went to Thief River Falls, kind of where the rest of my family is, and had kind of a niece's birthday party. So we ended up kind of buzzing up there for the night and kind of a little pool party and up and back. And the girls.
Like Dad's plane. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, here I'll show you. They had a really, really great time kind of going together. So yeah, the girls definitely love flying.
That's awesome. They better get used to it, huh?
Right. Well, speaking of travel, I see you've been doing some travel too, Kayla. I saw you went to kind of a pretty big marketing event, the Forward event, which honestly I've never heard of, but I obviously saw a lot of, you're posting on social media and some snaps probably as well. It looked like a really, really awesome event. And you even ran into somebody from Fargo too.
I did. Yeah. This event is one of a kind. I've been to many conferences and events before, but this was the best I've been to. And from, Gary Vee to Alex Hormozy to Jamie Kern-Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, it was incredible. It was, really, there's a lot of realtors and lenders in the crowd because the individuals that run this are mortgage lenders. So naturally, your crowd kind of follows you. But from sales techniques to how to speak to people more in a better way as a sales professional, to marketing and social media. And Andy, I was sending you stuff that day about webinars. There's so much like jam-packed in there, and you leave with a fire in your belly. But what's really cool is the caliber of people that were there. Everyone was at some point in their careers and their life, personal, professionally, whatever it may be, that they wanted to take next steps. And they were, every conversation had substance, and that was cool. And yes, I did run into our buddy Eric Hatch in the elevator and saw he was there. So he knows where it's at. He knew to get to Vegas to attend, but definitely recommend it to anybody looking for, especially in real estate and mortgage, looking for an event that will fire you up.
Well, remind me about that event next year. I don't know. Is it too early to buy tickets for it? Because, it looks like a really, really awesome event that, as I was looking at the lineup and actually just seeing some other people on social media that were there, including Hatch, I just thought, wow, this looks like an awesome event that, I should really consider attending. So take me with you, Kayla.
I will. Well, it's already set next year and you can buy tickets. So I'll get you the info and then we can shoot a podcast while we're there.
Awesome. I love it. What's going on in the mortgage world in Fargo?
Around the 4th of July, it gets slow. And then afterwards, my team and I saw a lot of pickup of purchase agreements. And then I was flooded just this Monday with people wanting to meet. I think I had 7 new client meetings just on Monday alone. And so it's very, very clear to me that people are not waiting for rates to drop. They are taking the initiative to get approved and see what they're approved for. I even had somebody that's in a lease until next February getting approved. And I was so proud of them because they had a little work that they needed to do to get their scores up. And I told her and him, I said, had you not met with me, we wouldn't know this. So people are being proactive, and that is really cool to see. In terms of the actual interest rates, they've been pretty flat. After everything that's been going on in the nation, I anticipated there might be some movement with our interest rates, but we're seeing rates remain pretty steady. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Thank you for pulling us up. You'll see that 30 years rates still under seven, still under seven. And FHA is, hovering a little lower than that, but it's definitely cool to see that there's not a lot of movement upward, because for a while, we had been wondering and seeing rates kind of dip up, and then we would see the market shift and people were frustrated, and now they've been pretty flat.
Right.
So take
Right.
that as you will. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. There's some whispering about September rates dropping, but here's the thing, Andy, when they say rates are going to drop, by how much? We don't really know for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what the next few months bring in terms of interest rates.
Yep. No, it definitely will, and I would echo that. I think that we saw, as I reflect on the housing market this summer, we saw a really busy market at the beginning of May, and kind of through May, and then it seemed to kind of taper off for a little bit. I mean, things kind of quieted down, and then up through the 4th of July, I mean, there were still very motivated buyers and sellers, making deals. But I think right after the 4th of July, I know we have been very, very, very busy since the 4th of July. And have seen, there were some homes that I've sold in our small marketplace, 28,000 over asking price with multiple offers. We see very desirable, single family homes and, the upper hundreds to, $200,000 to $300,000 that sell almost the same day. It's just really, really crazy. But I do appreciate also the article that you had sent over, or, kind of the Pulsenomics report, Kayla. That kind of talked about the 2024 kind of projected interest rates and kind of where we're going to end up. Obviously, showing the actual response, but at year end, a max of 7.5, a minimum of 5. Maybe hopefully around that 6.5 range. I think that'd be really awesome, Kayla.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think we're going to see rates drop. I really do, but I still think as well, when rates drop, more people come into the market, more people want to buy, more people want to sell their home. But if they're selling their home, they're going to be buying a home, so they're back. So I think that being very aware that rates dropping is a wonderful thing for your payment, for your affordability, but not necessarily for your competition and what you're paying for a home. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, but knowing that rates could drop and people can afford homes a little bit easier, that's such a blessing to see, because right now people are strapped. People are strapped for cash.
Yeah, people are, and that is something that I'm really seeing, and I've been having some conversations actually with a lot of first-time home buyers, in addition to very established move-up buyers, or, people that are selling, that are downsizing. But, people are more and more conscious, especially at that lower end. And in fact, Fannie Mae has a great article talking about exactly that, Kayla, where increasingly debt-strapped consumers are concerned about rising housing-related costs. And, Kayla, this article goes on to, it's very, very lengthy and a lot of good information. But I just want to highlight, some of the areas where homeowners are especially concerned, and that's, utilities, real estate taxes, routine maintenance, homeowners insurance, personal property taxes, HOA or condo fees, flood insurance. And I'm kind of thinking, like in your marketplace, Kayla, they really should have special assessments on here, because that's a real thing in Fargo.
That should be, if this was focused on the Fargo Moorhead market, I feel special assessments would be number one. I really do, because people will start shopping. They'll be like, Kayla, what am I approved for? Well, you'll have a $300,000 home with no specials and a $300,000 home with $30,000 in specials. That makes a huge difference. So that is a big concern in our area. But also, I'm surprised that homeowners insurance isn't higher on that list. For as much of an increase as what we've seen, and we had Danny Miller on here talking about insurance. She's an insurance agent. I'm surprised, because we're getting much higher insurance premiums. Andy, I had an insurance premium come in for somebody. Purchase price was, I believe, like $350 the home, and it was in Montana. So different state, different scenario, but the premium was $5,000 for the year. Now,
Wow, that's huge.
yeah, it's huge, and depending on the person's history and depending on the house itself and what they're, bundling, are they bundling with auto, are they not? $5,000 is a lot of money, and that's that's what we're seeing. So, but again, different state, different city, different
Yep.
scenario. But when we look at this national graph, I'm surprised insurance isn't higher.
Well, perhaps the respondents for this survey haven't got their insurance renewal for the year yet, and
Maybe they
they
have.
they don't know what's coming for them.
Oh, look out.
Yeah,
Let me
I,
tell you.
well, the other thing I think of when I read this article is not even just, thinking about buying in the local market, but also individuals, that are considering a move across country.
Yeah.
I was visiting with an individual who was considering, selling and moving out west to Wyoming. And, we were talking about what their particular property would be worth here and talking about the low cost of living and the income. Moving out to that area, I mean, you could barely get a doghouse for
Mhm.
basically what this individual's home would sell for. Income is lower, cost of living is higher.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you talk about being price sensitive. This individual just says, boy, if that's all I can get for my home locally, like I can't afford to move out there because
Yeah.
of the cost of living and everything else. So yeah, people are very, very conscious, especially in an economy where things have been very expensive.
Oh, I know it. And I even had a client looking in like the Laguna Beach area, so naturally more expensive. And every
Mhm.
single home that was in her budget, even at like 500,000, it was like double wides. And it was the tiniest homes, let's like 900 square feet for 600,000. And so when you think about those markets and what they're experiencing, you've got to be making more money. And a lot of people are not seeing raises in their careers for 20%, like we're seeing with the inflation and the affordability of everything else rising so much. So we're seeing a lot of people as they want to explore home ownership, they're saying, is it worth it? Because I can rent for this, I can buy for this, and that might not make sense. So it's
Right.
um it's definitely pressure for people.
Right. The thing I found shocking as well, I was reading kind of a Zillow article the other day about the July housing market, and just kind of talking about the consumer price index and how it's had some positive impact on what's going on. The market seems to be doing quite a bit better. I think, in
Yeah.
fact, I'm not sure if it's here, but yeah, on Yahoo Finance talking about the U.S. economy booming as GDP growth blows past expectations. Obviously, we know we had a really, really tough day in the stock market yesterday, as a lot of tech companies
Yeah.
really miss earnings. And I think Ford really, really had a tough go, and their stock sank 15%. But I think along with that, I got to go back and find this article. Even though things are going really, really well in the market, the thing that really struck me, Kayla, is this kind of headline
Oh,
here: the average U.S. household needs 35.4% down to afford typical payments on a home. And just the fact that interest rate relief cannot come soon enough for buyers and is increasingly worse in some markets. Especially in California, a buyer would need
yeah.
75% down to afford a typical payment. Talk about that from a lender perspective.
I see it all the time, but I have something I want our audience to consider. I continuously have conversations with people and they say, I want to put, let's just say, 25% down. I really want to get my payment down. For every about $1,000, it changes your payment $7 a month. So if you're putting down $10,000 towards your down payment, you're going to see roughly a $70 change. Now that will depend on the interest rate that you have, but about $70. So I am really diving in with my clients to talk about what could we do with that $10,000, let's just say, additionally that you want to put down and save $70 a month. Do you have something in your current debt, in your current liabilities that we could pay off? Because Andy, many times we are seeing car loans, credit cards at 8, 6, 10, 25%. It just depends on the person, but we're traditionally seeing them higher than mortgage rates. And they're usually on shorter terms, 5 years, 10 years max. So I've had clients where we've taken that $10,000 and applied it to, say, a $10,000 remaining balance on a car loan that was at 300 to $400 a month. And instead we saved them money in their cash flow there, saving 300 to 400 a month. instead of $70 in their payment. So clients really need to work with lenders that will dive into this, or financial advisors, because that article, that like is depressing. 35%.
Right.
I mean, when you
Right.
think about, the cost of monthly mortgage insurance, if you don't have 20% down, it's pennies compared to the fact that if you went with that lower down payment and you paid a little mortgage insurance, which people don't like that, but it's a lot better than waiting years and years and years to be able to afford 20%. And in the meantime, the house you buy is appreciating 4 or 5% roughly, depending on your market, per year. So I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but when I see 35% down, there's got to be other ways that we can help people as lenders and advise them on what to do with their funds to be able to afford
Mhm.
a monthly cash flow affordability, not just your mortgage payment
Right.
affordability.
Right. And that's what I love about you as a lender, Kayla, because I know you take the time to kind of dig in and have some of
Yeah.
those discussions. I think, and it's not true of just, lenders or agents or whatever, but just so many people, in any role, they get to be an order taker. And of course, the consumers going around, they're just shopping rate. They're not looking at the big picture. And I just think most providers don't take the time to educate, and
Mhm.
they really should be, because especially jumping back to this, Kayla, if you
Mhm.
happen to be in LA, a typical home value is 962,000. You know,
Ooh,
that's huge. Look at that.
that's insane. Yeah.
Hmm.
And who has that? I mean, really?
Right. Right. Right.
This is
Exactly.
this is interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, wow.
Yep. I thought it
Mhm.
was interesting, as well. It talks about rents as well, which you probably just saw on the screen, but talking about rents are growing fastest in some
Mhm.
unexpected places. So, and again, this, across the country, Hartford, Connecticut, Cleveland, Louisville, Providence, Milwaukee, whatever, but even Milwaukee being Midwest, I mean, things are
Yeah.
still really, really growing. So, we know affordability, kind of continues to be an issue, Kayla.
Yeah.
And kind of as we've just shown in this report, as we've illustrated in some of the various costs that people are concerned about. So maybe just diving into a topic today, Kayla, something that I wouldn't mind talking about, especially as we've been kind of covering everything in terms of affordability. Let's talk a little bit about new construction, because this particular article talks about the fact that a newly built home may actually be more budget friendly.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, I'm going to probably let you lead this discussion, just because, one of the biggest issues, like in my more
Mhm.
immediate market, is just the fact that we haven't had really any appreciable new construction for 20 years. I mean, with the
Yeah.
exception of some twin homes that or 55 plus options, a random spec home here and there. But you've got, how many builders do you have in
Oh
Fargo?
gosh. I couldn't even tell you. I mean,
If you had to throw a number out.
100 maybe max. Like, and I'm
Wow.
talking about maybe, like, if I think about the one-off, like, or the people that can do, I don't even know if it would be that many, but
What
anywhere.
what what about like the big names, the Heritage, the Thompsons, the
Mhm.
Missions, the whatever?
Mhm.
How many of those?
Oh, I would say probably a dozen, maybe a dozen big
Okay,
ones. I would say in total, if you include the one people that do like 1 or 2 a year, even that, maybe even less, maybe like 50 to 100 max. I'd have to look at
sure,
the Home Builders Association, because I even constantly I'll have clients that tell me they want to build and I won't recognize the builder name. I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, they only build a couple a year." I'm like, "Okay, great." But
sure.
there's probably, when people are building, and they don't want to have to carry the financing, meaning pay for the construction as they go, I would say there's under 20 probably, from the Krugers, the Titans, the PKs, the Heritage, the Thompson, the Dabberts. There's so many home builders, depending on your level of affordability and what you want to build, because you're going to have a lot of luxury, high end, and then you're going to have these starter homes. So depending where you want to be and how fast you want to build, it kind of depends. But there's quite a few builders in Fargo.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, the thing that really struck me about this article is just, and obviously, we saw materials, go through the roof during COVID. It seems that lumber and other materials are down to normal levels. And so just looking at this chart, even talking about how, the median sale price of new single family homes really is coming down, in comparison to the green graph of, the prices that just seem to keep upticking with existing stock. Um,
Mhm.
And so obviously, talking about the fact that builders focusing on what they can sell,
Yep.
and looking at smaller, more affordable homes. In fact, I just saw some of our friends at Mission Homes the other day on social media. They were posting kind of a loft style home. I'm just trying to pull it up here really quick.
Mhm.
And I was really, really curious on it, but just kind of, something that is a little bit more compact. I
Mhm.
don't know any parameters on it, but it's like, wow, that's really kind of an intriguing home model that I think probably will sell really well for someone looking for a lot of features packed into a smaller footprint.
We're finding if people are building up, not out, you need less land if you build up versus if you build like a rambler style, you need more land. So we're seeing a lot of like, 3-level splits, sometimes four. So you've got different levels. But I have been seeing a lot of builders offering incentives to those that are wanting to build with them. And that's great because they can do that, right? So a lot of my
Right.
clients, I'm seeing 5, 10, 15, $20,000 in builder incentives. And so that's allowing people that are first time home buyers an ability to walk in and just have maybe a down payment, and the builder might cover all the closing costs. And when you pair that with something like maybe North Dakota Housing, where you have these bond programs that are giving you the down payment, I had a girl that purchased a brand new home and she came to the table with about $500. It was a VA loan, so she had nothing down, and she had a great program, a great rate, and she got all of her closing
Hmm.
costs covered. And she
Wow.
was newly single, and she was able to get into a home for very cheap, a brand new home. And so I think that when people are exploring, we also have this tax abatement. So you get roughly $160, give or take, off of your first 2 years payment. You get $150,000 taken off the tax value. And so that's being something that people are like, hey, I can get into a house with no closing costs, builder concessions, and I'm getting a
Hmm.
tax break. Cool. And then they hope and
Right.
pray that maybe they're going to be comfortable with the payment. Most of them are. We have those conversations. We approve them on the highest amount. But also, you plug in those 2-1 buy downs. You might be able to have a payment that has a 2% lower interest rate than the market for the first year, 1% the second year. And so there's a lot of different things that we're seeing, and that's allowing people to be able to afford these new homes too.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, it is fun to see, and even in our area, we have kind of some good, incentives, kind of like a big build tax credit for new construction. If someone builds, they're maybe getting 15 grand back, over 5 years on their taxes and the like. So it's really fun to see that. We just need more buildings, so it's always really fun. When I talk to you, and it seems to me, Kayla, like the majority of business you're doing for your clients is new construction, whereas virtually everything we're doing in our market is, previously built, just because there is so little. But what better than walking into a new home where you maybe can pick a few of the parameters or colors or styles, and you're getting that builder warranty, getting the manufacturer's warranty on the appliances, not worrying about a 30-year-old HVAC system, and when is it
Yeah.
going to go out on you, and what does that look like. So that's
Yeah,
really
usually
it's
your
really
insurance is cheaper
intriguing.
too, and you have a warranty sometimes with the builders. I know when we built, my husband and I built with Heritage Homes, we had a 1-year warranty. So if anything came up, they would come out and check on our home, and that what gave us
Sure.
peace of mind too. And our insurance at that time was very inexpensive because everything was new, and so that's excellent. But there is a downside to new construction in our area, Andy, and that's special assessments. So, you're going to have some trade-offs.
So on Kayla, tell me on in Fargo and I know it depends on where it's being built, but let's say an average affordable home, and so you even give me an average price, but what are you seeing on average for specials
Oh boy.
on one of these new builds? That's maybe
Yeah.
an average 3 or 4 two bath home.
When we look at Fargo, we look at West Fargo and Horace usually. And Moorhead, we don't see a ton of new builds, but there are some. But we look at those 4 cities, and they all have different special assessments based on the neighborhood you're living in. I'm seeing Horace has
Hmm.
usually more, but I would say 35,000 to 40,000 is kind of an average.
Sure. Okay.
And
Wow.
And what we do, so today I had a client that wants to build with a builder. I said, okay, I need to know the address. and I need to know the estimated price, because what we do, my team, is we go to the city and we make sure that we quote them what their anticipated payment will be with the specials and taxes on that property, because we do not want to shoot from the hip. We don't want to tell someone your
Right.
taxes and specials are going to be $400 a month and they're 600. So when you are meeting with a lender on new construction, make sure that they are getting that from the city, because it's so important to know what you're walking into.
hmm Very, very interesting. Yeah, one of the kind of the struggles in our area, you talk about specials. Well, number one, we don't really have many, so it generally isn't a factor, but there isn't a great way to get online data on it without going to someone physically at the
Yeah.
city. So that can make things a little bit challenging and, some unexpected surprises every once in a while. But it's something I think we will be seeing more of, down the line, just because
Mhm.
again, as we look at new development and needing infrastructure, it's got to be paid for somehow. And it's, challenging to put that into the price of the lot, especially when you're looking in the context of affordable housing.
Mhm. Well, and in general, I think it's interesting when people are shopping existing homes and new construction. It's so important to look at both, because there's pros and cons, and each person has different short-term and long-term goals. And it's so important that
Right.
you're not just meeting with the builder or you're just looking at a home. You need to talk to your lender to run scenarios and estimates, and what are the tax incentives, and what are the options that you have with the builder to get incentives. Like, have these conversations and just do a comparison and see what's right for you.
Mhm. Right on. Well, Kayla, great discussion on everything market, rate, affordability, and new housing. I think that puts a wrap on episode 52. As always, it's great connecting with you, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
I will if you will.
We'll see ya.